Go ahead. Morning, everybody. It's June 22nd, 9 o'clock. We will call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order, June 22nd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Father's Day that are men. And women too, I guess. Yeah. We have to
support them.
The minutes from the county board meeting on June 15th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Newsom, second by Commissioner Batch. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything they need to add?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to add, let's see, the Wright County Historical Society and one of their buildings.
Okay, so item B, under items for consideration. Historical Society. And then I would like to add, I sent everybody an email regarding Wright County Community Action. So we'll do that as C on items for consideration.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with those additions.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they would like removed for further discussions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wetter.
I'd like under A, number 1.
A1? Okay. Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda with and pull A, number 1 for further discussion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Wetter, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Wetter.
Yes, I saw all those numbers that we received for small business grant funds, and I was wondering if somebody could address, are these dedicated to certain types of small businesses? Where did these numbers come from? How are they going to be awarded? Are they
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. So this is just a budget adjustment for the grants that we got back in January. We're just making the budget equal the actuals because Commissioner Katzmark wanted the budgets and actuals to match. When we got new grants, this was a grant we actually got back in January and the money's already.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Then I'll entertain a motion for you to accept that.
Yeah, I will make the motion to accept A1 under the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Wetter, second by Commissioner Newsom. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Timed agenda. It's 9:04. We're 2 minutes late. So introduction of our new Assistant County Administrator. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. With great pleasure, I would like to introduce to you Holly Wilson. Holly comes to us most recently from many different roles that she served at Mille Lacs County, most recently as their Assistant County Administrator.
quite a few years working either in public sector or with firms managing projects that work with public sector. So very happy to have her here. Yesterday was the first day, so I've been bombarding her with information as we do have a lot going on. So with that, I'll hand it over to Holly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Like Lee said, I come from Mille Lacs County. I was there for about 4.5 years. I served as the Assistant County Administrator, the Personnel Director, Public Works Director, and County Engineer within that time period. I've also worked for the City of Wilmer in the Public Works world. I was the City Administrator for Pine City. So like Lee said, I have done quite a bit of public sector work. Excited to be here. Be happy to take any questions if you would like to know anything else about me.
So what made you decide to come to the Wright County in this time of your life?
A lot of things. There's been a lot of changes at Mille Lacs County, so I felt it was the right time for me to make a change as well. My research showed that Wright County had a lot of different types of things going on than what I was working on in Mille Lacs County. A lot of different issues, new challenges. More of a mix of both, more like city area versus and rural, whereas Mille Lacs County was pretty much all rural. So that intrigued me as well, and then the size of the county, number of staff, that type of thing. So.
Great, so are you commuting now, or you're going to settle around here?
Currently, I am commuting, and my family and I are kind of assessing the situation, what will be best for us, if the commute is the right thing, or if we want to move a little bit closer. My husband works in the metro area, so I have to see what works best.
Good. Well, welcome aboard. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So I guess we have to grill her a little bit, don't we? It's only fair we do it to everybody else. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. My parents still live there, so I left Fergus Falls when I graduated from high school and have not moved back. So I've lived in Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, so we've kind of stayed in the Midwest area.
Well, moving to the Wright County would make it a lot more convenient to go see your parents in Fergus Falls.
Yes, it would. The interstate would be much more convenient to see my parents.
Did
Well,
your parents
welcome.
file a missing person report on you then?
Well, no, I still visit them. I just didn't move back to the area.
All right.
Now, I can't keep the grandkids away from the parents.
Yeah, all right.
No, you better never do that.
Uh-huh,
Never.
that's for sure.
Well, anyway, welcome, and we look forward to working with you
Bad enough.
All right.
and making our county administrator look good,
I will do my
which is
best.
which is what he said he hired you for, to make him look good.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ellie.
Mr. Ryan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members, and Administrator Lee. Last year, you adopted a resolution for performance management grant. Attachments show the results for that, 2020, with approval, and I'm asking you to approval of this year's resolution for and adopt this year's performance measures, which is exact as the last year's. And then with this resolution, the grant application, we get about 14 cents per capita. So last year we received about $19,394 for this grant. So with that, I'll ask you to approve the resolution if you have any questions.
Yeah, why don't you explain a little bit about what that performance grant, what that all entails, just for our newer commissioners.
Yeah. So with this grant, all we have to do is, the first year we adopted the measures. So then I asked the departments the following year for the measures for the measures that are for the grant. And then with the approval of that, then I submit them to the OSA, Office of State Auditors. where they can collaborate from all the cities and all the counties that go for the grant. And with that, that's all that really is.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
does the county have to put in any matching funds for this?
No, all we have to do is supply with the measures, and we receive the money December, so.
And is there a result from last year's?
I do have in front of me,
It was
I
the
kind of was
budget.
looking over,
Was
and
it?
it's
Yep.
basically the same as,
You mean the 2020?
The 2020, that was last year's, yep.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I will say, I mean, the 19,000 that we get, and largely a lot of this information, the departments already readily have it. It's just we're collecting it in one document. So, I mean, they're giving us $19,000 to put this all in one concise document, so it's a well worth venture.
Is
With
it-
that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for 2021, accepting the performance measurement grant application.
I'll second that, and I will echo Commissioner Ketch's comments, because, you know, it's kind of nice for us, too, to track, so we can look from year to year. So it's, I think, a win-win situation, and then we get some money for it besides, so.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
under discussion, I saw this report and I thought this was maybe a partial or kind of an example. I'm wondering, does this pertain to every department and office in the county? Because it doesn't look like they're all here, but there's certain ones that it applies to that we have to track with it, is that right, or?
yeah. So with the performance grant, that is those approved for the grant, and those are the ones that are specified in the grant application.
Okay,
Yeah, so it doesn't include every department, but those are the ones that they want to track at the state.
okay, thank you.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Husum. Any further discussions? Hearing none, resolution, roll call vote. Commissioner Ketchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Mr. Hawkins?
Morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners.
Morning.
Today I have one item for Highway for your approval, and it is an agreement with the City of St. Michael for construction and maintenance of a mini roundabout at the intersection of County Road 119 and Jansen Avenue to accommodate new housing development in St. Michael.
Mr. Chair, there's a lot of new homes going in that little area, or not little area, but.
There's
that
a lot
area.
of new homes going everywhere.
That's true.
Yeah, there's, the discussion Commissioner Wetter and I had yesterday regarding County Road 19 down by Hanover, and the concerns about all
Oh,
the
yeah.
the growth in that area.
A lot of growth.
Yes, and that's
An incredible amount of growth.
a lot of traffic on that road that gets backed up, for sure.
Yeah, I grew up on 19. I'm glad I don't live there anymore.
You might get enough growth someday that will attract Virgil to move to this area.
I used to be, Monticello.
I know, but then now you gotta come back.
I have to follow my kids and grandkids. They have a special place in my heart.
Mr. Chair, I'll approve the agreement number 2153 with the City of St. Michael for the construction of a mini roundabout on County Road 119 and Jansen Avenue.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Husum, second by Commissioner Wetter. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Hey, thank you.
Thank
Virgil.
you. Oh, and thanks for joining us yesterday regarding the
Yeah.
County Road 19 in Hanover. Yeah, we gathered that.
Yeah, noticed.
You weren't, when we went, did a visual, I think they felt a lot more comfortable yesterday afterwards. Still a lot of questions, but
Dave.
I think they felt a little more comfortable.
Oh.
You don't agree?
Dave? Who's Dave? You said Dave.
They.
Hey.
Oh, they! Clean out my ears, sorry.
I was wondering where I said Dave too.
Yeah, I
didn't
said
think
Dave. Who's Dave?
Look up, all right. Well, it's not 10 o'clock yet.
Committee?
So, items for consideration, committee minutes of the whole for June 15th. Commissioner Houston.
Yes, the Committee of the Whole met to discuss the county assessing and local appraisers. We had all 5 commissioners, Administrator Kelly, staff, and also local appraisers, people from the townships. And essentially, Director Matthew Fomby provided guidance and standard that the IT recommends for government workstation. And number 1 is that the device should be placed in a public known location. For example, St. Michael, Minnesota, their city office or the government center. And it should also be behind 2 physical barriers. And there was a number of other requirements that were listed and recommendations that I won't go through all of them, but people can certainly get on and read the minutes. They're quite lengthy. We as a county provide the local assessors with their computers and are also, it's a concern that security be maintained with them. We heard from Assistant County Administrator Brian Asleson, and it essentially is the agreement between municipalities and the township's ability to choose between local assessors and the county assessor, and certainly having these local assessors has, helped the county not have to hire more staff. But going forward, we're not sure how it's all going to shake down. He said that, the county can really decide also on that, but municipalities with populations over 30,000 can have their own assessors regardless. So there's a lot of discussion. We heard from local assessors that had, some concerns with where they need to have their computers and that kind of thing. And eventually it came down to Wright County Assessor Rasmussen said that his department handles all the mailings and the notifications internally. The entire county consists of approximately 70,000 properties, and Wright County assesses approximately 19,000 of them. Rasmussen said that we need to find a solution so the local assessors are not burdened by the proposed standards. He suggested implementing over time. So we are basically came down to the recommendation to develop and have a memorandum of agreements in place with all the parties by September 30th, 2021. So they're quite extensive minutes if anyone has anything to add on that, but with that, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to approve the recommendation and the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Wetter, Committee of the Whole minutes from June 16th.
Okay, that was a continuation of the American Rescue Plan. Does that make the 3rd or 4th time we've met on that? Something like that, anyways.
I think it was the 3rd.
Anyways, all of the commissioners were present, and then there was also present many staff. We were given a 38-page document, and we kind of finished up that and looked through that. And county guidelines were added to the document, and it includes the temporary nature of the funds, hiring of employees, supplanting and supplementing existing programs, the 2020 revenue loss, and sub-recipient relationships. We also was a proposed process, and we discussed that. And the rest of the document was just program suggestions that had already been brought before us. Commissioner Vetch talked about the internal county expenses and thought that they were pretty clear, but the external pieces were actually, he thought they should, before a claim is submitted, one more step in the process should be added. And he suggested that any external proposal needs to have a detailed proposal for the funds, not just a general idea. So a step would be added and an annual review also would be necessary. The grant agreements will be written for a 1-year period and then reviewed. And if they did not look like they were viable, they would not be able to have any, go on for any more years. We also talked about hiring a consultant, and the consultant would look over what we had kind of agreed upon for funding, and then he would ensure that the county wouldn't miss out on possibility of other grant funds, and that also those, they might be able to get funding through a different means. Also, funds cannot be used for programs that have already been budgeted for. And we talked a little bit about the different areas, and we talked about Health and Human Services, and we would have a little bit more details coming up. Recommended was the grant applications would come back to the board for review and approval, and then they would be added to the process of approving uses of funds regarding renewals. We will move forward with phase 1 external projects like the technology support and training for seniors, economic assistance for Wright County 4-H, volunteer recruitment for safe families, and expanding the emergency assistance through Wright County Health and Human Services. We move forward, also recommended was that we would move forward with phase 1 internal items such as the pandemic unknowns, PPE and other supplies, payroll for public health employees, and administration time through Wright County. And we also scheduled a committee of the whole for July 6th. So it's a never-ending project as time goes on. I will make the motion to accept the committee of the whole for June 16th. June 16th of 2021.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that, and I have a point of clarification.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple different clarifications.
Go ahead.
Motion by Commissioner Wetter, second by Commissioner Vetch. Go ahead.
So the one was the consultant. I wanted to make sure that we were only consulting in the capacity of a grant researcher, and that would come back to us if you had proposals on that. We weren't, I don't have myself personally, the interest in going through it like we did last time with the approval process. I think it's more of just finding what other pots of money are out there, so from a grant researcher, yep.
Mr. Chair, just to respond to that, that was our understanding as staff, trying to find firms that would provide that service as it is a little bit unique. So working on getting some proposals, we can bring those back at an upcoming meeting if that is the desire.
Mr. Chair.
Just one other thing from Administrator Kelly. Jamie had sent us also something, if you kind of would clarify that, please.
Yes. One thing that we did not, we did discuss at the meeting but did not make in the recommendations that I understood we were moving forward was the public health survey as part of one of the recommendations to add.
Yeah, and the advantage of that is also will help us figure out where the needs are in the county for the coming forward in the future here. Commissioner Ketchmark?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just further on the consultant, the understanding is that the funds from the ARP, the rescue plan, will cover the consultant if we indeed hire one.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussions?
And then just, Mr. Chair, one point on the scheduling. We talked about July 6th, following the board meeting. That also lines up with leadership team, the quarterly meeting with the commissioners. So I don't know if we want to move this meeting or look at moving leadership. Just wanted to basically confirm the time for July 6th for this meeting.
6?
Well, I'm wondering, it might be an advantage to have a discussion with leadership and then go back and talk about this more. There may be some other things that we're not quite aware of yet. You know, we have a few more weeks yet. And there may be more clarifications from the feds on some of these things.
Sure.
Not that that would ever happen.
You wanna go to like 1 o'clock, he's thinking on that 6th, or are you thinking about going a different day?
Does anybody have any issues with the afternoon?
If it's done by 3:30 or so.
Well, I would think so. Do we plan the schedule for 1 o'clock? Does that work for everybody else?
Sure, work for me.
Folk and Dagger? That work okay? All right, so we will change the, that committee of the whole for 1 o'clock then, on July 6th.
Do we need a motion? Okay.
We can make that part of the recommendations. Commissioner Whiter, Commissioner Vetch?
Yes.
Sure.
For me.
All right. So, Angie, you have everything? We haven't confused you? Okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
All right. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Wetter, Historical Society.
Oh, yes, it was brought to my attention that on the county fairgrounds, the Welker School was in dire need of a new roof. And I wasn't aware, I don't know if that, since it's a county building, if, Alan, do you have anything to do with anything of the Historical Society as far as buildings?
Now you know why she was glad to see you.
Good morning, Board. With regards to the Historical Society here, local in town, yes. We maintain the structure of that and the systems. At the fairgrounds, I think that's a different question maybe that Administrator Kelly could address and how we want to handle that. It's been kind of a back and forth conversation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting situation. The county does own the fair site itself. However, traditionally the fair board has been, if they're making improvements out there, have come to the board anytime it exceeds over 10,000, I believe is the threshold from my memory. This one may take a little additional research given that we have the Historical Society involved as part of this. So I guess thanks for bringing up the issue here. We may need to look into it a little bit more.
And Sally is here from the department along with their curators, so if you want to question them at all, I don't, or maybe she wants to explain a little more,
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Ketchmark.
And I talked to, being the board member on the fair board, I talked to the president of the fair board about the proposal and the arrangements with the buildings out there, and he said that this building is one of a couple where they look at it as the responsibility of the owner of the building to maintain the repairs, maintenance, whatever's needed. That was the fair board's position when I talked to him. And I would just say that if repair is going to go forward and include the county, that I've noticed from current roofing projects that I've been part of, that there's a wide range of estimates out there. And that $10,000 figure would be more than adequate to cover what I've seen the size in that roof. Just for, but you could get a cost of $18,000 also, but for wherever that lands, you know, we'll have to do someone will have to do due diligence in the bid process.
Are those asphalt shingles out there or are they wooden shakes? I'm assuming an older building that they'd be wooden shakes, but
Board, they are asphalt.
they are.
shingles, yes. And the question we also have with that too is, there's no question that we know that the land belongs to the county and that the buildings belong to us. The buildings themselves are being of use only when the fair is on. So there's a little bit of gray area there. Also with the interest to the space itself, the land that the buildings are on, there are 3 buildings there. Is the land for our use, or is the land for the fair board to use however they choose to use it? So those are, because we do have, the fair board does choose to put different groups sometimes on that space when we are running programs. So those are questions, I think it would be a great idea for us to have a clearer idea of who is in charge of that space, who's responsible for what. And I look at it from a liability standpoint. I'm looking at the health and safety of the facility and the people who are using the facility. So a risk management standpoint. So.
Sure.
Mr. Ketchmark.
So speaking to that, so the fair is less than a month away. Are we saying that you got to put pails inside to catch water? Are you planning on opening that building for the fair this year? Because our time is short, if anything's going to be done, I would think before.
Well, it won't be done before then, because that wouldn't be prudent.
Okay.
And certainly, nothing ever gets done that quickly when it comes to construction, especially right now. So what we're looking, though, is going forward, because we are going to very shortly be in a situation where we are going to have water inside the building. We've dealt with a couple of issues, taking care of those, but we do know that the shingles themselves are in horrific condition. They're curling and they're pretty rough. So.
But you're planning on keeping it open for this year's fair? Or?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be open.
I like your positive attitude regarding rain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
Mr. Chair, it seems like, from what Sally's saying, that we almost should have a memorandum of agreement or understanding, something, so that if the fair is using the buildings for something else, I guess then it's their liability essentially if something happens. So we need to clarify, some of these little details.
Sure.
I believe.
Well, they're passing around pictures of it, and it looks like the heat's been tough on it.
Yeah, those shingles were, there's something defective in them. I did have someone take down a shingle, sent it several years ago. They told me that with the time that it had passed, there was really nothing that they were going to be able to do about it. So we just knew that we had to replace the shingles at some point, and we're to that point. So.
Do you know how old they are?
I will have to take a look back in my notes again. They're not as old, they're not 20 years old, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We need to get 20-year shingles next
I know,
time.
what was I thinking?
Well,
I wasn't there then.
Or
that's all I can say.
25-year.
well, even if they were 20 or 25-year shingles.
You'd still
or
get
30
something
Or
back.
lifetime, yeah, you'd
Yeah.
think, so.
We were really close, so I think maybe they are 20. I'll take a look back at the notes and see.
You may have to argue a little bit with them.
Oh,
Well, companies don't like to give money out, although.
That's why I'm here with you.
I know I had issues with my shingles, and I think I got $500, it cost me $7,000 or $8,000 to reshingle the roof, but.
Right. $500 from a
Yeah, they gave us the
nonprofit
damage.
after this past year is big money for us.
Mr. Kreiser. If you would come up here, please. And I know you've been following along in the conversation.
I've been listening. Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Since the Fair Board says that it's historical buildings, but the Fair Board is using them for other purposes, I guess we do need to get some clarification, some legal, which is right up your alley regarding some memorandum of understanding or however that's all going to work.
Yes. Mr. Chair, when I was talking to Commissioner Wetter earlier before the board, my suggestion was I think this would be better suited referred to a committee where we can look at the agreements and the leases and have a discussion with the Fair Board and figure out a way to move forward. I don't know, Mr. Kelly, if Ways and Means would be the best, or if you have a capital improvement committee, I don't know where to send it. Ways and Means is always kind of a default.
I'm thinking
But
Ways and
it's-
Means
yeah,
for now, and
that's
then
what I
it
would
can
say.
escalate from there if
Yeah,
necessary.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I think, because I also wanted in the discussion that we do some clarity on where liability falls from an insurance perspective in this, because I think it's
And
kind
that-
of been loosey-goosey for a number of years.
Which is why I suggest we have the attorney out here.
And that's why I suggested we should talk about this.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Kreiser, would it be better to have a Ways and Means Committee of the whole, or just the Ways and Means Committee? I mean, if you have all of us,
I would think,
just the
I
committee?
think just the regular.
Okay.
Ways and Means.
committee, I think so too. And again, it can escalate up from there if necessary, but
Okay. We can
to
gather
have,
information.
to get at least focused down
Yep.
at that point.
Okay.
All right? So probably the next Ways and
Send
Committee.
send that to the next Ways and Means
Yeah,
Committee.
which would be in July.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to send the Historical Society and the Fairground agreements and all other information pertaining to that same discussion to a Ways and Means Committee at the next available date.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by
Thank you.
Commissioner Ketchmark. Any other discussions? Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
No more discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Wright County Community Action. I forwarded you all pictures of the things that they were looking at along with the letter of, well, Wright County Community Action, they want to use this stuff for food rescue. They have partnership with Untides and possibly some other ones in the future. And that's what this equipment will be utilized for. After touring the stuff down there, which again, it's been not utilized at all since, well, for 11 or 12 years now.
2012.
Come to find out that this equipment, the refrigeration units down there, must have even come from the older jail, because there are 12s for Freon.
Sure.
Can't charge them anymore.
Nope. Well, you could, but it'd be awfully
Pretty
expensive.
Yeah.
That's what I was just
So
gonna say.
two of them are R12s, and one of them is R134A, which again is not anything that they use in current refrigeration equipment either. So maybe at one time this would have been worth some money, but right now I don't think you can find anybody that's going to be much interested. Although I guess the R12 units do work, they have ran them. So anybody with automotive that has older vehicles may be interested in them if they can recover the R12 and have the equipment to do it. Since that quit being used around 88, 89, I believe it was. And then the other equipment, you know, they're going to remove it. It's not going to be anything that we have to deal with. If you haven't been down in the kitchen, but there's a few file cabinets that are down there and a couple of chairs. The other thing I'm thinking too is that we need to, and maybe we can send this to Ways and Means or whatever, but I'm starting to think that instead of waiting till the last minute, that maybe some of these things should get on our auction
I agree.
and start to move out now instead of waiting till the last minute. I have a feeling that there'll be a lot of stuff that's gonna get thrown away because file cabinets aren't being utilized very much anymore.
Right.
Not as much.
I do want to offer it to the 4-H club, any of those things that are down there, and anybody else internally that wants it. Again, most of the stuff is not going to be utilized much anymore. What is the board's feeling regarding the equipment?
Mr. Chair, I agree. We need to start liquidating our unused equipment now, I mean, essentially. I'm just wondering what is someone else going to come forward and say, well, why'd you give all this to, this group? I don't know if they would or not. I mean, we know that all that equipment is at least 30 years old because that jail opened in 91. But, I mean, I'd like to see it utilized, so I don't, what's the precedent? I mean, can we just donate to GIF?
We can donate it to Wright County Community Action. Brian had given us some, a while back, some information regarding that. It has to be a nonprofit or something that benefits the county, if I remember correctly, is the way he worded it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the discussion prior centered around Minnesota Statute 375.18, which is under the section General Powers of the County Board, but there's a subdivision specifically speaking to community action agencies and the disposition of equipment from a county to a community action agency. So as long as I believe the dollar amount we're talking about here is relatively low, we are able to do this per statute.
Looking online, Auction Masters liquidates a lot of equipment for restaurants. And looking at what they've been selling it for, it's not going for any really high amounts. Alan, you have something?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just wanted to kind of clarify the list of items. There's some mention about refrigeration. The only refrigeration unit they're taking is a freezer. That's a plug-in freezer. It's not related to really any refrigerant, I guess I'll say, whether like the walk-ins would be. The rest of the equipment is pretty much stainless tables, racks, shelving, that type of stuff, along with one oven unit, range top. So just wanted to kind of clarify, I guess, that. And then the other comment regarding the rest of the inventory of furniture, cabinets, building-wide type stuff that we got to figure out what we're going to do with. There's a couple different approaches, and I think we need probably a larger discussion on what our long-term approach is with that, because we could either start piecing sale off on public auction, or find a broker and sell it that way. There's multiple ways to kind of dispose of it, because we have a ton of just old pieces of furniture that are 30 years old that we're not moving or don't intend to unless it's going in a storage room. We do plan to keep file cabinets and shelving units, etc., for storage areas, just not for new office build-out areas. So we're kind of working through that plan of furniture right now. But it's a bigger discussion versus just start kind of selling one off. I think we got to figure out our approach to a wide variety of a large amount of things here.
Do you have an idea, Alan, how many actual file cabinets are down in that kitchen area?
I don't. I would guess I would just take a guess at the kitchen area. There's probably 25, 30, I don't know. But that whole jail area of storage has cabinets throughout it. There were some items left over from the move to the Justice Center. There's some items that are used for storage of files currently. The cage area down in the lower level of the annex also has file cabinets and racking, in addition to all the current department file cabinets. So there's literally probably a couple hundred file cabinets at least that are going to be items to figure out, along with all the cubicle wall panels and systems, I guess I'll call it. The old chairs, all that type of stuff, which really don't have any value, to be honest with you, relative to I shouldn't say don't have any real value. They have value, just very minimal value on auction. Old chairs and that type of stuff, they just don't sell for very much money. So you might get a couple dollars a piece, kind of a deal.
Mr. Chair, I'm wondering, and maybe we should have an owners committee meeting to discuss it. Maybe it makes sense to, versus trying to liquidate all this stuff internally here on one big lot, we might yield better doing it bit by bit, because otherwise you're just going to flood the market with a whole bunch of used furniture.
Right.
And I don't know if maybe you have a vendor that's willing to buy the whole lot. I don't know, but maybe we should start those discussions, because it's coming up sooner than later.
Yeah, and I don't know, should that go to owners or should it go to Ways and Means? I'm not so sure that we even really have an owners committee other than for new buildings.
Well,
Traditionally, it has been for the new building construction. Ways and Means, again, is kind of the catch-all. And I guess that's where I would maybe recommend it go to, especially if we're already scheduling one for July.
I think,
give us the easy stuff.
Yeah, come on.
so that first meeting which was the second week in July then?
Be the 14th, I believe, would be the next committee date it would fall on.
All right. So
Yeah, we
they
started
had a
with
dry spell and now we're gonna throw a bunch of it on
Now
them.
you're gonna
Good.
use us.
Chair?
Mr. Ketchmark?
Thank you. In reference to the items on the list here, is there anyone from Community Action here on?
No, they're not.
Okay.
They asked if they wanted to be here, and I said I didn't think it was quite necessary.
One question would be, do they have a definite location that they know that this stuff is ready, that can be pushed in and installed and utilized, that it's not gonna go into storage until a prospective location?
No,
down the
no,
road?
they actually have a location currently, and they're actually looking at a second location already, too.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, this will be going into, in one of the locations right away. And then some of it may end up going into the second location, again, depending on size, and they're trying to get their hands around everything, too.
And then with regards to the stainless, I mean, that stuff lasts a long time, and I guess, as far as giving things away, whether it's space or property that started out paid by the taxpayers and then would be utilized by a certain population, but not all the taxpayers potentially, I would like some independent that doesn't have a vested interest do a walkthrough and actually, instead of guess a value, say what exactly is the value that we are giving away. And I suspect there's other commercial kitchen items, I don't know if it's usable, like exhaust hoods and things that, the commercial part, that's expensive appliances. But the stainless itself, whether it's the scrap value or to be utilized again, there's some pretty good sized sections of steel here. So I guess I'd like to know before we give it away, that, hey, what is this? Is it a few $100s or is it a few thousand? I don't know if any of us are experts in the stainless market, whether it's for scrap or to use it as it is here, but that's my thought before we decide on that. And then like Commissioner Hewsom said, the fairness of picking one group over another. If we have like 4-H at the fairgrounds, it says, oh yeah, we could, utilize that for our business there too, and I guess those are my thoughts.
Mr. Chair, just from my experience, when you're selling restaurant equipment online or purchasing it, there's an ebb and a flow. It all kind of depends when you go to market on it. But on a good day, total value, maybe $2,000 on a good day, collectively for all of it. It's not, it's not a few $100, but it's definitely not, $4,000 or $5,000. Yeah, it's not $5,000, $10,000. You're in that right around $2,000, give or take, $500.
Commissioner Hewson?
Yeah, I agree with what I said and what you kind of reiterated, but at the same time, we have a group that's willing to take this equipment and they need it now, and they have been making meals for our seniors they're delivering meals since COVID hit. So I see that value too,
And I think that the people that will be receiving these food rescue items would be anybody that wanted them. So it's not like it's being restricted on
Right.
yeah.
where it's going. So
So
the
our
taxpayers will benefit
Right.
from it,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
And Mr. Chair, I'm looking at some of this equipment, how big it is. The 4-H building.
Be too little.
Yeah, no,
is
there is not enough
It's
room.
not large enough to house any of this stuff, I don't think.
We can spend our time trying to get it evaluated and end up probably at the same thing. We're limited on who we can give it to. We can give it to a CAP organization. So to get things moving, and actually it'll help out Alan and those guys, because it'll clear out some of that room down there to give them more room so they can put more stuff in there. More file cabinets and chairs and stuff.
More storage.
So I'll entertain a motion to allow this stuff to go to Wright County Community Action. They'll be moving it out of here in the next few days.
Mr.
We
Chair,
need permission.
Mr. Chair, in light of all the costs, because even if we do go to auction on it, you pay auction fees and stuff out of it. So for that reason, I'll make a motion to move the equipment to Wright County Community Actions for their usage for the such named equipment.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Vett, second by Commissioner Houston. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, you
Commissioner Witter.
did say that they were willing to remove it.
Oh, they intend on
And
removing
willing
it.
to transport it.
Yep, they have it all scheduled.
Because if we were to, we would probably have to dismantle and.
Yeah, no, trust me, it's gonna have to be
and
dismantled.
transport it to an auction house or whatever, so I think we'd be ahead to do it this way.
Yeah, no, the only thing that our responsibilities were gonna be to disconnect the electrical to it.
Okay,
And if there was any gas or any of that sort of stuff, but,
Luckily, we have an electrician on staff.
yep. So, any other discussions?
great.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Advisory committee, advisory update. We got 10 minutes. Let's start with Administrator Kelly.
All right, thank you, sir. We didn't do updates last week, so trying to catch up a little bit on that. I wanted to point out a few things that myself and Christine Hewsome had attended the District 5 meeting back on the 14th. You should have received an email from Julie Ring about their strategic planning efforts. She highlighted that at the meeting. Just want to make sure that we get our input into Julie and AMC about their strategic plan and help moving forward. The group there was definitely happy to be meeting in person, and they did mention that the remainder of the year for AMC events would be in person. Had quite a bit of discussion about the American Rescue Plan. I felt that all the counties there were similarly situated to what we are as far as developing their plans and funding plans and moving forward. So it was good to bounce that off of each other. Did get some information from MCIT also at that meeting. They were happy to inform us that they are returning a dividend again to the counties, divided amongst the counties. It'll be $12 million. Although they did note they're seeing an increase in expenditures and property casualty. So our rates will probably be going up slightly for 2022's budget. We'll see that late July, early August, both for the dividend and the expenditures for 2022. So a couple other meetings involved in, and maybe I'll defer to other board members to discuss that, but I had met with CMRP to talk about future action items regarding Framework 2030 and staffing amongst the group and how we will move forward with that. Also was able to attend the Trailblazer board meeting on the 17th prior to our opening of celebration to open the expansion of their facility. So Trailblazer made some adjustments to their driver wages as well as looking at for their salaried employees, in addition to adopting their staffing plan for 2022. So I think you had the opportunity, of course, to meet Holly today. I know our intern Ellie Lechner started today, and some of you had the opportunity to meet with her. So she'll be assisting us with various things in administration, specifically a lot around the American Rescue Plan. So a few updates for the board. Thanks.
Commissioner Witter?
Okay, with extension, we had our first face-to-face meeting, which was wonderful. And we're proposing to share an extension educator with Meeker and McLeod, and they've been working on the budget. And we're going to be meeting, I think it's Thursday, about the sharing of the extension educator. The North Fork Pearl River One Watershed One Plan was a policy committee meeting, and we went over the bylaws and got rid of that 50,000 project cap. It had to go before that board, which only met 4 times a year, which made it impossible for projects to go on, and it went through LGUs previously, so all those kinks would have been worked out ahead of time, so we got rid of that anyways. Wright County Community Action was Head Start, had received grants for the summer preschool, working with the Monticello School District. That would be for 4 and 5-year-olds by September 1st of 2020, and had not yet attended kindergarten. And if any of the funding, which was $72,000, they actually got 2 grant monies. That could be used next year for summer school there. They also accepted grants to provide produce, pantry items, and prepared meals to seniors and low-income families. And then Soil and Water Conservation District Board met on the June 14th and talked about the Mississippi St. Cloud One Watershed One Plan, and also the South Fork Crow River One Watershed One Plan, and they've actually submitted applications for the grant money now, and they'll find out in August whether they've made it or not. Right now they're also working on memorandums of agreements, and that's in the process, and Kreiser, I guess, is looking at them also. I guess he left already, haha. And then the North Fork Crow River, I already talked about that. Then the Historical Society, we actually met face-to-face for the first time now also, and they're fully open now and doing lots of cleanup work outside. And they're looking for another shed or garage that's donation to store some of their Christmas items. So if anybody has something like that to donate and get rid of them on their property, get a hold of Sally at the Historical Society. And that ends my talk.
Mr. Vetch?
All right, so Lee, I appreciate your update on Trailblazers. So they did make a rate adjustment of $2.50 an hour on the hourly employees and a 2% on the non-hourly employees for their market rate adjustment. They also had a discussion about kind of a change in their org chart. So as Mr. Kelly said, we adopted a new potential org chart in terms of really diversifying it the way it was before. The chart before had kind of more of a narrow scope where a lot of things were flowing into the assistant executive director to right to the director, where now it's more of a diversified, more of a lower level management diversification, or mid-level management. Also very nice for everybody that came out and attended for the ribbon cutting. Very nice building.
Yes, very nice.
It's great.
On an operational. Mayor's Association dinner, very nice evening. Hanover did a really nice job of kind of showcasing their
Yay,
community.
Hanover.
Yeah, they did. Brian and Chris Kaufman, who's very nice, and they really nice to hear the story about the business that they featured. So very nice, the Big Boar. So very nice story. Also, the Wright County Economic Development Partnership, we had our meeting last week. We had a lot of discussions about they rolled out their new website, and their new website, because they have to figure out their SEO. So it's not, so right now, if you search it, it's going to be like 17, 18, 19 down. So we have to do some optimizing with that, and we have to do some marketing with that. I was going to work with John Holler to help do some press releases on our side to help them get some hits to hopefully bring them back up higher on the search engine side of it. Right now you search Wright County Economic Development Partnership, it'll bring you to an Iowa one. So
Put Minnesota behind it.
yeah, you have to put Minnesota behind it or you're gonna have to scroll way down. So then same with the CEO program. I kind of had discussion about getting some more traction to it, and I suggested that we have next year when they do their showcase that we would have John Holler maybe do some press releases on it to hopefully bring some more people into it, because I think it's a little bit difficult getting that information out there. And we also had Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership. We had a long discussion about how we are going to facilitate our work plan, because after coming out of Framework 2030, we developed a very robust work plan of things that we would like to achieve, but this organization has no staff. And with the American Rescue Plan on both counties, staff ability to facilitate it within the two internal counties is limited, we came to the idea that the organization has enough funds that we would go with a contractor for the next 6 to 12 months to help get the projects going until maybe there's capacity within the existing members, or if we have to pivot in another direction. With that, Mr. Chair, that's what I have.
In the interest of time,
So we'll pause, pause that.
you have quite a bit. Otherwise,
Yeah, I have more than, more than, it's 10 o'clock, so.
all right, let's just wait a few more minutes for maybe a few more employees to come in. Let's just take a 3-minute break or so.
Okay. Yeah, it's more than 30 seconds.
Okay, we are here to honor a couple of different people for all the years that you have spent here. Holly, just so you know, it's your second day here. Someday, hopefully, you'll be here 40 years or 50 years, and we can somebody can honor you. So I want to thank all of you that did show today. We're going to start with the 40 years, and Commissioner Ketchmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think it was a good idea to recognize the people twice a year rather than once, because by the time you get to the end of the year, you've already got another year of service in. And so it's good to be part of that. And I got the easiest to pronounce names, so I like that too. So starting with 40 years, Terry Piram from the Planning and Zoning Department of Wright County. Is Terry here or is
Yep,
Sean?
she is.
She's right there.
Terry's hiding.
Come on
behind
up,
the computer.
Terry. Come on down.
Well, Mr. Chair determined that. Sorry for the order, but
So Terry, have you been working with the planning and zoning the whole 40 years? Yes. You have?
Why did they hire you when you were 12? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
it's good to work with Terry at Planning and Zoning. She's always got a positive attitude after 40 years and
Yeah.
great minute taker on our minutes, easy to read and understand. So thank you, congratulations. 30 years. From the Sheriff's Office, Mitchell Fleming and Michael Silbernagel, 30 years of service.
Neither of them are here?
Chief Deputy, are you accepting on their behalf today? All right, you'll have your hands full, looks like. 25 years of service. Joe Backus, Court Services. Mark Erickson, County Attorney's Office. Steve Meyer, Highway Department. Margaret Munson, Court Services. Cecilia Webb, Health and Human Services. Congratulations, 25 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I seen
Okay, there
Cecilia
we go.
here. Anybody else?
Don't be shy.
Anybody else here?
No, I don't see anybody else. Thank you for 25 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh. Neat. All
20
right,
years.
20 years of service. We have Lori Achman from Health and Human Services. Nessa Black, Health and Human Services. Aaron Dees from the Attorney's Office. Carol Goodrich from Administration Finance. Amy Herzog from Court Services. Kristen Hoyne from the Sheriff's Office. Rochelle Kramer from HHS. Michael Lindquist from the Sheriff's Office. Dean Olson from the Sheriff's Office. Sherry Oval from the HHS. Ronald Smith from the Sheriff's Office. Matthew Treichler, Sheriff's Office. Janelle Webb, Court Services.
I think you missed one.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Joyce Tennyson, Sheriff's Office. Janelle Webb, Court Services. Jeremy Workala from Sheriff's Office. And Michael Woodford from Planning and Zoning. So. Thank you for 20 years of service.
All right, for the 15 years of service. And I apologize for any last name that I butcher ahead of time. Patrick Bailey from the Sheriff's Office. Naomi Blomberg for Health and Human Services. Heather Clanton from the Sheriff's Office. Susan DeMars from Health and Human Services. Sarah Denzer from Court Services. Elizabeth Hammer from Health and Human Services. Samuel Hoover from the Sheriff's Office, Todd Jorgensen from the Sheriff's Office, Shawnee Linenfelter from Admin Finance, Chad Miller from Health and Human Services, Mark Olson from the Sheriff's Office, Jacob Sherrill from the Sheriff's Office, and Shane Simons from the Attorney's Office.
Good.
So those that have been here 15 years, just think about it that a third of your life working for the county is over.
All right, honoring those that have worked for Wright County for 10 years, we have Christine Ham, HHS, Shane Haggerty, Sheriff's Department, James Kaufman, Sheriff's Department, Dustin Miller, Sheriff's Department, Michelle Miller, HHS, and Kevin Schroed, Highway Department, and Eric Stennis, Surveyors.
No, you laughed and you came back.
We're glad you came back.
Yes, we are.
Congratulations.
Just think, if you wouldn't have left.
Thanks. Big money.
Yeah. That'll teach you next time you'll not leave. So let that be a lesson to you. See what happened? She left and come back. You just don't ever leave the Wright County and you'll never have any issues. Commissioner Wetter?
Yes, for 5 years now, and I also, if I butcher names, I'm sorry. Zachary Baumtrog from the Sheriff's Department, Joseph Bazin from Law Library, Alexander Bursey from Assessors, Jeremy Carlson from the Highway Department, Jake Comstock from Health and Human Services, Heather Craig from Health and Human Services, Alice Dahl from Extension, Kelly Evangelist from Health and Human Services, Curtis Hakala from the Sheriff's, Rachel Helverson, Health and Human Services, Daniel Heikkinen from Court Services, Michael Hewson from the Sheriff's Office, Elizabeth Iddings from the Health and Human Services, Rochelle Jorman from Health and Human Services, Kara Campa from Health and Human Services, Patricia Larson from Health and Human Services, Andrew Lundeen from the Sheriff's, Jessica Manuel from Health and Human Services, Rebecca Marketon, Health and Human Services, Tiffany McAlpine, Health and Human Services, Brandon Merton from the Sheriff's Office, Brooke Noner from Health and Human Services, Anna Olson from Health and Human Services, Sean Olson from the Building Maintenance, Nathan Price, Sheriff's Department, Brady Prowatsky, Sheriff's Office, Misha Simmons from the Health and Human Services, Nathan Sindit, I believe, okay, Health and Human Services, Cheryl Sin from the Sheriff's Department, Holja Summer from the Health and Human Services, Lisa Spencer, Health and Human Services, Alan Wilczek from Administration, Jeremy Wojciechowski, Sheriff's Department, and Angela Young, Health and Human Services. Sure am glad I'm Polish and know some of those.
I want to thank everybody for your continued years of service, and I agree with Commissioner Ketchmark that it is nice to break this up into 2 times so that
Yes.
a little better chance to honor you. Do we
Congratulations.
have, are we providing anything at all afterwards?
We are not. This is our first kind of go round of this, and
So next year we'll do it, or the next time? Well, no, it'll have to be next year.
yeah.
We'll do it, we'll provide, what, lobster?
Do you want to make the public funds work for that? We can have lobster.
Can we use American Rescue Plan for that? Who asked you?
She said maybe.
Saying there's a
That's
chance.
what I heard.
That's what I heard.
Well, isn't it rescuing everybody here?
We're gonna get pictures or anything, or?
Yeah, I don't know, did you guys want pictures? And, you know, it's unfortunate that, and, you know, maybe next year's gonna be a lot better because we're all gonna be on the same campus to make
That'll
it
help.
easier for people.
To get away?
So hopefully that'll work out so that we'll be able to get some nice big pictures of groups. You know, what, we could take that big group of 40 years, a picture.
Good. Good.
40, 30, and 25.
Yeah.
First
Anyway,
column.
again, thank you. Not sure what else to say. Does anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah.
Again, thank you all for your wonderful years of service.
Yes.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, we should be done in just a minute if you got a sec.
I made that work so I can pick up the stuff. There you go.
There you go. We have it the
You wanna
other.
help them? We'll take a few minutes here.
Okay.
Get everybody out. from the District 5 meeting. A couple of things is that Robin Sykes, when she gave her MCIT update, she did let us know that the most expensive part of our body is the shoulder. So as far as claims are concerned, and also the PTSD law enforcement claims are up quite a bit. They, and then just one other thing is they handed a resolution out to us that they'd like to get to the governor to recognize the commitment and dedication to public service, excellent county staff during the COVID-19 pandemic by proclaiming a day to honor all those folks. Mentorship education and drug awareness. We got a very nice gift of $5,000 from the drug forfeiture money from our county attorney. We approved a $500 grant for the DARE program that is in a number of our schools. We also formed short-term community action teams. So when we have an event or something else going on, we're looking at just doing short-term action teams to work on that event, so you don't sign up for a committee and you're on it for life, essentially. We have Lori Blockett, our Drug-Free Communities grantee, is working with the pilot prevention program with the Monticello School District, and they're looking at creating a comprehensive evidence-based pilot program next year so that other districts could eventually duplicate. We're going to be part of the Street Party of Hope in September, and that's to raise money for cancer care. And we also we recognized Caitlin Main, our student who was last meeting. It was her last meeting, and so we welcomed Zach. Now I'm blanking on his last name. It's not in here. Pribble, I believe. He is a Maple Lake senior. So we're also having a large event in August, getting a speaker in to do a presentation of really a kind of community forum for reducing the stigma of drug abuse. And then our workforce center met, and they're still watching closely to make sure that we don't go into shutdown, so they don't go into shutdown. They they were basically opposed to the Deed's new legislation due to the dislocated worker program cuts. So they're working on that. And also they're looking to do updates on the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act. So that will be updated. Also, there's just, there's just so much going on with all the different grants and the different people that they work with. So I'll be happy to share that with anyone that's interested. We do have a new graduate from the Turn on Thursday, June 24th, 1:30 in Sturgis Park. So we'll have a keynote speaker and a little reception after that. And just a last quick update, I did go down to the University of Minnesota, the Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center with Senator Anderson, members from our Soil and Water, and it was very fascinating. They're doing a lot of research. They have discovered ways to work with zebra mussels, their population. They have an experiment using low dose of copper to help eliminate that. They're also doing genetic targeting, so they're kind of the first in the world to fully sequence the zebra mussel genome and working at the weak points in their genetic makeup to hopefully eventually eliminate the population of zebra mussels through genetic modifications. And they're doing the same thing with carp, and I did not realize that carp actually produce more phosphorus than any farm runoff, any phosphorus from farm runoff, because it's actually, they're always digging it up in the bottom of the lakes, and then it gets in their systems, and they've been working on a project to attract carp into an area in a creek. They've actually harvested 10,000 carp this year from that one project alone, and
Which is why they're great fertilizer.
They're great fertilizer. The DNR will not let them sell the carp to farmers that want this for their fields and that kind of thing. So, or as commercial, they do smoke them, and restaurants do serve them. But anyway, so they're trying to get some way to get these carp into farmers' hands and that kind of thing. I guess they can donate them, but it's just a little bit of a complicated issue. But they do. Carp make great fertilizer. All that phosphorus is just, there you go. So that's it.
Commissioner Ketchmark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Went to a couple Lake Association meetings, Lake Ann, French Lake, talked about ditches. What else, of course? Good discussions.
Do we have
with the group.
ditches?
Pardon me?
Do we have ditches in the county?
Well, some of us have more than others.
Some have a big one.
As we're often reminded by Mr. Chair. Had a planning commission meeting, lasted 4 hours, 11 items. Most were resolved. Some will be revisited at a future meeting. Had a fair board meeting. Fair is planning to go on as scheduled. They feel they can comply with any or all restrictions and have all their events. There's some new things such as fireworks, a lot of free entertainment every day with different bands.
Just regarding that did hit the county website yesterday, the schedule of events for the county fair. So
Okay.
that's out there now.
And I talked to John yesterday with some details. I don't know if that's what he put on there for a summary.
Could be, but it links to the Wright County Fair website also.
Okay.
So they have some more things.
So they're working, it's a great group. They've been at it a long time, and you sit there as a non-voting member, of course, but they all, whenever there's a task to do, someone just nods their head and says, yeah, I got that, and it moves pretty smooth. They work hard at it, and I'm hopeful that there's a good turnout this year. Then last week had a cameo interview with KRWC late in the week, and that's all I have.
Yeah, done good. They played it on Friday because it was preempted because of a sporting event. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of different meetings with all you guys, which you covered. The only one that I don't recall anybody talking about was the broadband committee.
No.
That we had met a couple of times since we last had the opportunity to talk about what was going on. And we did hire a company to give us some ideas or kind of an overview of the county as a whole on where, who, and why, and the future. And they were saying that in other locations when they started doing this, pricing went down for a lot of people.
Oh, competition?
Competition. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully, Aaron, they said it's either competition or just improvement in service and stuff. So I think it's going to be a very worthwhile group to work with. They've got an incredible amount of experience with it. So.
The name of the firm is Design 9. They're going to share a lot of really good information in this feasibility study. A lot of it, how we can maybe implement grant opportunities with ISP providers, as well as possible opportunities if we want to put our own fiber in the ground, as well as they're looking at other things other than just fiber in the ground. They're actually going to give us information on the feasibility of using towers too. So.
Yeah, they've got a lot of experience, and what they will hand us when it's all said and done is documentation to help us get some of those grants. So, like I said, they got a lot of experience, so it'll be well worth it. Yes?
It'd be nice if, you know, like when Mid-Continental is coming through with all this fiber, I mean, that we didn't really know about it. They're laying fiber from Clearwater to Hennepin County. And, you know, if there's some way that we could get that information so we can coordinate, I mean, so anyway,
That's hopefully what they're gonna find out for us.
yeah.
Yeah, so, anyway, I think that was about all I really had, other than,
Matt Detchen and I will be at Buffalo Township tonight to discuss redetermination of benefits for ditch 17, open up that discussion.
oh, and the Wellness Committee met too, last week, I think,
Who was?
the Wellness Committee.
Oh, okay.
And they've been doing an awesome job. They're doing something new, and I can't remember the dates, and it might have already occurred. But they're working with Parks and Recreation to get some of our employees out into the parks for exercise, or just so that they get a chance to see what our parks all have to offer and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to bore here, Commissioner Vetch, so I
No,
figured.
you're not boring me.
Mr. Chair, going back to that broadband, I worked with Rockford Township because they had a little bit of a problem with Midco. And with them going fiber optic to Greenfield. Okay. And what I found out with the townships is that the townships only have jurisdiction over their roads and not the ditches. And so they actually have to go to the property owner and get permission to go through the ditches. And so I thought that was very interesting because I guess Corinna Township they had to go through it that way also. And so I thought, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it or not, but
So the
Township,
road,
the
they don't
township
have
right
road
away is a
right-of-way?
lot more narrow than that of the
suppose.
county road. So, depending on how far they gotta be from
the center line.
center
yeah.
line, so yeah, there could be some situations where they would have to be outside of the right of way and have to get easement.
Yeah, coming to find out, you know, in Wright, Frankfurt Township, there was things that were put in minutes but never got registered as far as right of way. So, and I'm sure that happened over the years, you know.
Goodness.
The dike over on the Mississippi River over in Otsego, it was all agreed to, but it never got registered, you know.
But it sounds good when they talk about putting the fiber in the road ditches and,
Yep.
you know, there's a lot more to it than people understand, so.
All right. Anything else?
Issue.
And if not, we are adjourned at 10:39.